hope for us all.
Lagos, Nigeria. Joining me on the program this afternoon to share his expertise and perspectives.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, decision which is aimed at strengthening Nigeria's domestic economy and promoting local content, approved a sweeping new policy framework tagged the Renewed Hope Nigeria First policy. Sir, I don't know what are the key objectives of the Renewed Hope Nigeria First policy unveiled by the president?
The Nigerians have overabused importation to the toothpick.
Yeah.
I don't know for what reason will some people decide to import toothpick. I don't know for what reason will some people decide to import toothpick. And all these things, they are not giving them for free. You have to use dollars. We were doing post-export inspection.
Yes.
Or pre-export inspection. You will have inspected those things you are intending. You bring them to Nigeria. But subsequently, they changed the policy. They will have come to Nigeria. They will have dumped it in Nigeria.
Yes.
So for the president to now say, yes, it has to stop. It has to stop. It is a welcome development. No nation develops without developing the manufacturing potentials of that particular country. When in 1947, India became independent,
yes,
and Pandit Nehru, Jawaharlal Nehru, took over as the prime minister, he told Indians that all borders will be closed. Many items, I don't want to mention the number now, were banned from coming to India. And he said until India can produce pain by herself, they will continue not to import things. And lo and behold, India developed. Even the first bomb developed by India, because they were in arm race with Pakistan. You know what happened? It was as big as anything. They took it to the mountain top. They dropped it from there. It refused to explode. But they are perfected. So India is now one of the nuclear powers of the world. You have to close your borders to so many items with the view to engendering, bringing out the potentials that the nation any nation has. So for me, it is a welcome development. But WTO will frown against it. They call it protectionism. That you are protecting your nation. That you should open your doors and the windows for many items to come in. It is left for you to develop that country if you want that country to develop. And that is one of the reasons, one of the ways to develop the manufacturing sector of our economy. One, it will solve some problems of unemployment. There are so many engineers, there are so many accountants, there are so many other people who are qualified who work in the manufacturing sector. Apart from the government, we don't produce battery for cars now. We import them. You can imagine the number of cars on Nigerian roads.
Yes.
They are in millions. So they use what? They use battery. So if you produce batteries in Nigeria, you can see how many people will be engaged. There was a time we have, I say, whatever glass making windshield in Nigeria.
Yes.
So some people were working there. There was a time Volkswagen Nigeria was being assembled. In Nigeria, Volkswagen was being assembled in Nigeria by Volkswagen Nigeria. So many people were engaged. Pocho 2 Pan was also being assembled in Nigeria. Kaduna, so many people were engaged. So many people got employment. All those things are closed down. So living people, textiles too. You can imagine what you put on, what I put on. Nobody walks naked on the streets of Nigeria.
Yes.
We are putting on one apron or the other. The textile industries are all closed down. So it is now important that we look into that. Any leader that looks into that, say yes, look straight in the look straight or look at the elite straight in their face and to tell them, no, you can't continue to be this way. You can't continue to behave this way. Then that is one reason. So it brings about development.
Yes.
But some people will still complain. So he has to ignore those complaints and go ahead. But with respect to expatriate quota, they have also over-abused that one. Some people look at Dangote refinery.
Yes.
They said about 210,000 artisans were brought from India to come and work there.
Yes.
Can Nigeria produce those artisans? Can we trade them? And there's always what they call expatriate quota. That if you have an establishment, how many people that are expatriate, that are not Nigerian nationals, who work in your company, producing bread for us to eat in Nigeria, producing garri for us to eat in Nigeria. That is bad for any economy. You can't go to their country, they will restrict you. These are the things you can engage in. You can engage in any venture or any endeavor that the nationals of that country have capacity to develop. Would you be able to enforce all those things if you want to make any headway? Or else we'll continue to go down as a nation. And before you know it, the nation will have no future.
But how do you think this policy will affect Nigeria's trade balance? And what are the implications for the country's foreign exchange reserve?
Yes, I told you before you buy those things, you have to pay in dollars.
Yes.
Now the dollars will be conserved. How will it affect? Nigerians have developed taste bud for foreign goods. They have to change those things. It brings about reorientation. That whatever you have, you should be able to appreciate them. So whatever we have, I will have to appreciate them. Those who like to put on foreign apparatus, you know that we are in Nigeria.
Yes.
When you go to that country, go and buy it and put them on. But when you are in Nigeria, don't expect to find foreign goods here unless you travel. So it also tells us that those companies that are producing those things in Nigeria would like to come of age, make them standard in all ramification, so that Nigerians will be convinced about the products made in their country and they will readily go for them.
What mechanisms now do you think can be put in place to ensure compliance with this policy, and how do you think the government can monitor and enforce its implementation?
I started by saying pre-importation inspection.
Yes.
So if you stop it at the port of exit, it will not come to Nigeria, and that is policy we have to enforce. Before you import anything, submit it so people will go and inspect. If it does not comply with the requirement, that is the end of it. Don't bring it to Nigeria. Nigeria is not a dumping ground.
Yes.
That you can come and dump all sort of articles. So you have to be very, very careful about it. Then the custom. The personnel of custom that have the responsibility to check all these things will have to be up and doing. They should look at that it is a national assignment. Then corruption does not have to come in. Nobody should bribe. The way they will be able to tackle that, maybe it is going to be total inspection of container coming to Nigeria with and anybody that is found to have imported any of those banned items must be prosecuted. That means our laws must be looked into, amended with a view to giving people severe punishment. Whosoever found guilty must be prosecuted, and whosoever found guilty, the punishment must be such that it will be deterrent to anybody who wishes to do such thing again.
All right. How do you think this policy will affect Nigeria's commitment under the regional trade agreement, such as the African Continental Free Trade Area?
So when you are talking of foreign goods, you are not talking of whatever is produced in Nigeria, in Africa. But Africa is seen as a continent. Even Africa, Nigeria will benefit, but because most of those items we produce here will now be exported without what they call restriction from other countries.
Yes.
The movement will be such that there will be flow of goods, flow of people, and the currency too. So we are not buying in dollars again. They said they are going to localize such that you just exchange your own currency with the other country currency within Africa. Instead of converting your currency to dollars before you go out, being dollar being a global currency, we don't have to go through that stress again. And that conserves our foreign reserves. But when you say you have foreign reserves, what are net foreign reserves that will serve your importation for 6 months or 8 months?
Yes.
Now you don't have to import all those things or expend your foreign reserve on all those items again. But within those, with the products or the goods produced within African continent,
yes,
there will be easy movement, so you don't have to bother about having to convert your currency to dollars before you purchase them. So it doesn't have to, it doesn't affect the after
yes,
issue.
Yes,
doesn't affect it. It doesn't affect it.
Yes.
Negatively though.
Okay. What do you think the potential implications of this policy for Nigeria's trade relations with other countries will be?
No, definitely yes. You have to protect your country. It's because your country exists. That's why they are in relationship with you. If your country ceases to exist, nobody will look at your side. So that is why I started by saying that the WOT, the World Trade Organization, they have a protocol that Trump is doing with tariff.
America first, yeah.
It's a way of protecting the country's own, the country's economy.
Yes.
So 250% tariff, 115% tariff, telling them don't bring goods to my country, and it's already affecting China to United States by 65%. So if Trump or United States of America could do it, and there are no consequences, you should expect no consequences from Nigeria for protecting Nigerians' interests. So it's not about your interests. And the global leaders have started it all. So it's for us to key in too, to protect the existence of our country.
Well, let's allow that issue to slide and move on to something that has to do with the upcoming 2027 presidential elections. As the anti-Tinubu coalition headed by former Vice President Atiku Abubakar gathers momentum in the north, elder statesman Alhaji Tanko Yakasai has said the north alone cannot determine who emerges as president in 2027. This came as the League of Northern Democrats yesterday said the mission of the group is not in seizing power but fixing the country. It will be recalled that former special advisor on political matters to President Bola Tinubu, talking about Dr. Akim Baba Ahmed, recently declared that the North will soon define its political direction ahead of the 2027 general elections, and stressed that no politician can win the Nigerian presidency without support from the North. However, Yakasai, a former liaison officer to late President Shehu Shagari and founding member of Iowa Consultative Forum, noted that neither the North nor the South could determine who emerges as president. Sir, do you agree with Mr. Yakasai's statement?
Yeah, that is a bit of truth. It's factual, and it was being realistic.
Yeah.
Why? Because the North as a country, as a divide,
yes,
has just 19 states. The Constitution of Nigeria 1999, as it is now, or as amended, says you must have 25% in 2/3 of number of states. That means in 24 states. Anybody who wants to win must have 25% of the total vote cast in 24 states, and the North only has 19.
Yes, yes.
So that means they will need 5 more states from the what? From the South. The South has 17 states. They will need 6 more states from the what? From the North.
From the North, yeah.
So, in their own case, they will need 7 more states. So what they are saying is invariably is this, that no side of the divide can determine solely who becomes the president of Nigeria. You see, it's a constitutional matter. That is our own electoral college. That is our own inbuilt electoral college. So beyond that now,
yes,
let's proceed by saying that unfortunately though, Baba Ahmed is a Mauritanian.
Seriously?
He's the Mauritanian. His father is from Mauritania. He's the first generation born in Nigeria. Why is he? Because you are born here, you have that privilege. Why are you poor? Why are you that tendentious? We need to tell them the bitter truth anyway. That is by the way. But the truth of it, let us be factual.
Yes.
The nation needs unity. We don't want this kind of divisive tendencies to divide us. Some policies actually affect some other people more than the other, but we are all affected. The poor do not only reside in the north; they reside in the south too. So the issue of poverty,
yes,
cuts across the whole length and breadth of Nigeria. So we need to know that it is beyond north and south divide. It is about the well-being of the Nigerian nationals. So what he's saying is political.
Yes.
And because the elite have always benefited from the
But how significant is the North's influence? But how significant is the North's influence in determining the outcome of Nigerian presidential elections?
Yeah, in terms of number, yes. And in terms of perfection of election rigging, yes. Because you look at it from one point of view that 3 million people look at it from one point of view that 3 million people come out to vote in Nigeria, particularly Kano.
Yes.
So that is what he's looking at. And you see those who are not, they have perfected the ideas of having to take underage to go and vote on print without any restriction. So they believe and rely so much on that thing. That is why he's saying that the North has population based on whether manipulated or not. 2006 population census, and it is their reliance on that gives them the advantage of the votes they claim to have anytime we have election in anytime we have election in Nigeria.
Now, what are the regional dynamics at play in the 2027 presidential election, and how do you think this might impact the outcome?
What?
The regional dynamics that's at play in the 2027 presidential elections.
Yes, you see, Jonathan was there for 6 years. He attempted to go for another 4 years. He was defeated, and they brought in the issue of Boko Haram, insecurity. And you recall, before Buhari became the president, and Jonathan was trying to fight against Boko Haram and banditry, Buhari came out to say openly that if you kill any one of them, you are killing one of us, you are killing us. So, and that gave that banditry to fester. It festers to the extent that it's affecting them now. Even some local governments in Katsina State have been taken over by bandits.
Yes.
Tampa is experiencing that.
Yes.
It has heightened this time around too, because we are moving closer to election, such that they will use that to discredit anybody who is in the president, who is not one of them. But when it was happening during Buhari, yes, nobody complained. They did not complain. Can you imagine that? They did not complain. So it has become a political weapon. So I want to tell you that the dynamics that you are talking about is about the insecurity, the issue of insecurity, to flush out some people who are not pandering to their demands. And as long as you don't pander to their demands, they are going to use insecurity as a weapon to flush you out. I hope this one does not work. The issue is that they are now telling them, Buhari spent 8 years. So that is for the North. For any Southerner again, he must also spend his own 8 years or else. So if that one goes in, what they will do is that they will fold up their arms, because if they bring another Southerner now, that person is likely to spend 8 years. And they cannot wait for another 8 years to take over power, because they have personalized power power has become, they are the proprietor of power. Power is proprietary in Nigeria. By proprietary, I mean that you are in charge, you can transact business with government, and you carry money without being questioned. So they are not only stealing money, they are packing money in Nigeria, and they can do anything to get power so that they will pack more. Look at the issue of somebody, one of the managing directors of the refineries, that EFCC claimed to have found 80 billion.
Of course.
In his account. And they are still searching. They have not concluded their investigation. If that is to be true, that is true. You can imagine how many of such people they have in the north. And unfortunately, they are all from the north. They are all northerners. That is what they use power for. So those are the dynamics that will tend to affect us. Look at what do you call him? Yakubu, former GMD too. Some $10 million in Grokas was found in one of his wardrobes. He's also from Kaduna, and Kaduna is in the north. Those are dynamics you have to look at and appreciate before you can move forward. So it will happen either way. But what the Southerners are saying is that you have spent your 8 years. Leave us to also enjoy our 8 years. After 8 years, you can come back and take over power because it is proprietary, transactional. You are using power to amass wealth.
How do you think the anti-Tinubu's coalition's efforts will impact national unity, particularly if their strategy is perceived as regional or divisive?
It's too early to say. It's too early to say. They will make efforts. You know, the popular thing is that if you try, you might win. If you don't try, you have lost. So they will try as much as possible. But the most important thing is that the people are the ones that will suffer. Either way, whether I think any northerner gets it, or we still retain a southerner in person of Tinubu there. It is the people that always suffer.
All right, let's just leave that and then quickly move on to another interesting issue that has been on the front burner in recent time, talking about the president's son. The president of the National Association of Polytechnic Students has come out strongly in defense of Sheyi Tinubu, son of President Bola Tinubu, who was accused of interfering in the affairs of the National Association of Nigerian Students by a factional president, Atiku Abubakar Issa. While speaking with newsmen, he said efforts to discredit Sheyi Tinubu is politically motivated. It will be recalled that one Atiku Abubakar Issa had earlier accused President Bola Tinubu's son of interfering in the affairs of the students' body. Issa, who claimed to have emerged as the association's leader during its national convention, which was held on February 27, alleged that Sheyi disrupted the association's inauguration ceremony held in Abuja and threatened to kill him. He described the attack as politically motivated and linked it to an alleged bribe offer of 100 million naira aimed at silencing his leadership. Sir, what is Sheyi Tinubu's current role and what are his responsibilities in the present administrations? Let's begin from there.
See, before now,
yes,
Sheyi has not lived a life of low key. He has been so flamboyant about the way he goes about things. And with the sovereigns, people are enduring rather. It shows some people are enjoying while some people are busy suffering. You recall too that the North said he insulted them by coming to the North to distribute prepared rice.
Yes.
As if the North is that hungry. That is one. You also recall you read about him that he was attending fake meeting until his father asked him to leave. Because he was never appointed as a minister or special advisor.
Yes.
So his notoriety based on that has always been he will not give anybody the room to even defend him. Whether he did what the person alleged him to have done, or he committed that criminal thing. So the point I'm trying to raise is that his antecedent has always is a bad antecedent, vis-a-vis governance. So he's being notorious and famous on the negative side, so that anybody can allege him of anything. So there is no defense for him. So
it's safe to say that his actions in recent time has affected his public image.
No, it does. Since the beginning of the government. Of course, they said he was going around with his father during the campaign, but that is not it. We also have Hunter Biden, the son of the former president of America. He was never known to be this notorious. Donald Trump is there. He has another son, Brown, even though the husband of his daughter, one of his daughters, is in government. Those ones were appointed and they were doing business. But when it comes to the just going about with your own convoy, people thinking it was the president that was coming, we didn't elect him. We elected his father. So he should be very, very mindful. And the father has not called him to order. He should call him to order. So he's giving him bad image. In terms of the way he behaves, the way he goes about it, it's giving him bad image. And that is not palatable.
Now,
it's not good for the president's image.
How do you think this might impact Seyi Tinubu's career and public image in the future?
Let the people decide that. I've said my own.
but how do you think these developments might impact Nigeria's politics, particularly in the context of the 2027 elections?
No, 2027 is too far. This is not it's one of those side attractions anyway. It's not one of the major things that will decide and determine who wins and who does not win. The issue of morality is another thing entirely. Politicians in Nigeria do not have morals.
Wow. All right, let's not really dwell too much on that and move on to something very pressing, something that has to do with the issue of education in the country, as concerns have been coming over and over again over the recent 1.5 million UTME candidates that scored below 200. The Joint Admissions and Matriculations Board yesterday released the results of the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, raising concerns about mass failure, as more than 1.5 million out of 1.9 million candidates whose results were released scored below 200. The UTME is graded over 400, which, with each candidate assessed in first subject, scored over 100 marks each. Sir, what could be the reason behind this poor performance this period? Is it due to inadequate preparation? Hello, sir.
Okay.
Hello, sir, are you with me, sir?
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay, I said, what could be the reason behind this poor performance? Is it due to inadequate preparation, poor education quality, or other factors?
So many, all those inclusive anyway. Then our children have decided to go in the line of entertainment rather than reading. There are so many things along that line. You understand? More so now that the issue of miracle centers and impersonation jumped through under the leadership of Professor Oluyede has been able to fight them to a hilt. So the children that people will go and write for, you remember about 28 people were said to have been arrested for impersonation. They still do it. It's part of the technology jam through the leadership of Oluyede has deployed. So it shows that people are not ready to learn, and the elite who can pay their way to do anything to compromise the standard of any exams. And you know, it is happening in WAEC, it is happening in NECO, and it's only JAM that has become so formidable, so resistant to all those manipulations. So kudos to Oluyede-led JAM. But besides that, the children are not, they do not see education as a necessity to attain necessary heights. So they see it as one of those things that some people do not go through school and they are making money. portable as it were. Very bad example. Is almost a millionaire. Which school did he go to? Did he attempt jam? These are things that have affected their psyche, turned their mind, and on the basis of that, we are having crisis. So it's not as if the questions are tough or tougher than they used to be, but the mindset of the children must be first and foremost looked into. Prepare them that you need education. I speak to you from where I'm talking to you just because I have education. So we won't go to the farm to go or marketplace to go and get somebody.
Definitely.
So you need the education to be able to do certain things. So we need to reorientate our children and prepare them adequately. Then the standard is generally falling.
Wow.
The standard is generally falling. And if the standard falls and you expect the examination bodies to compromise their standard, then the nation is doomed. This has served to ginger everybody that you need to do more for you to get what? For you to get a space in the overcrowded Nigerian tertiary institutions admission process.
How does this year's performance compare to previous years? Are there any trends or patterns that can be identified?
I think yes, last year also was better, much better than this year. So the body will look at it, let them come out with their findings. When they come out with their findings, we will now be able to appreciate and comment better.
What do you think the implications of such a large number of candidates scoring below 200 will be? Do you think this will affect their chances of getting into tertiary institutions, and what alternatives are available to them?
Oh, you see, the point is it's not determined on the basis of what? Of the number of people that failed. It is determined on the performance, and the performance will determine the cutoff. So now that you have about 1,600 or thereabout, 1,600,000 pupils or candidates scoring below 200. So what they will do is to bring the cutoff mark low. There will be low cutoff mark, and I won't say the standard of those courses will be compromised anyway, but for them to accommodate the required number of people the cities want, so they'll have to reduce the cutoff. Yet the number that entered last year will be the same number that will also enter this year, or even much more. Irrespective of the fact that about 1,600,000 score below 200 marks.
How do you think this will affect the education sector as a whole? Do you think it will lead to changes in policies, curriculum, or teaching methods?
They are already doing that. The schools themselves will look into that. Those bodies saddled with responsibility of giving us standards, of reviewing our curriculum, of monitoring the performances will also sit down. But this is just one out of many years. It has always not been like this. It is just this year that is like this. So it is not it's not much to worry about for now, until those bodies come out with their reports, comprehensive reports, and each and every one of us must study it for us to be able to move ahead.
What roles do you think stakeholders now, including parents, teachers, as well as policy makers, can play in addressing this issue and avoid a repeat?
Vis-a-vis their own words. Talk to them, ensure that they do what they need to do. They study hard. It's not about music. It's not about what. It's not about going to lounge to go and dance or having some element of what do you call it today? Flamboyant life. It is about education. So the teachers, those training the teachers must also hype their games too. Because our teachers who teach, like a fellow will say, who are teaching nonsense? Teacher, don't teach me nonsense. Some of them are of compromise standard, and that has always, it does not start yesterday. It has always been there for a very long time. And any nation that compromises its education, that nation has no tomorrow. So for Nigeria to have tomorrow, then the standard must be looked into. I don't think those who are in charge will not sit down and look at the thing once again and see what they can do to get us to where we need to be.
All right, let's quickly, just as we begin to wrap up the program, this is our last issue that we'll be treating this afternoon. We're looking at the traditional institutions in the country right now. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, has assured traditional rulers that they will be granted a formal role in Nigeria's governance structure by 2026 through the ongoing constitutional amendment process. Abbas gave the assurance in Kaduna during the official handover of 23 utility vehicles to traditional rulers in the state. He added that the National Assembly made provisions in the 2025 federal budget for additional support to traditional institutions, including the renovation of palaces across all 3 senatorial districts in Kaduna State. I don't want to dwell so much on Kaduna State right now. I want to look at the constitutional role, like the Speaker mentioned. What do you think, sir, what is the current status of traditional rulers in Nigeria's constitutional framework, and how do they contribute to governance?
Yeah, in the earliest age of our country,
yes,
in the 50s and the 60s,
yes,
traditional rulers had always been playing some roles. You recall there in the Western region,
yes,
when we were using the regionalism, we had regional government. We found out that we had House of Chiefs in the secretariats. That means the chiefs were having so many things to do. You also recall that there was this Oni of Ife who was also in charge of governance, Oni Adesoji Aderemi. You understand?
Yes.
And in 1979 too, they also had was he commissioner without portfolio? I think it was a Tauja of Oshogbo. You will not play politics where you are in with some issues. So I doubt if that thing is going to sail through. Now that all our leaders were traditional leaders without even being things. So I don't know how best things. So I don't know how best they will tell us that they have not been playing politics. But they will tell us that they have not been playing politics. But they will tell you they need a role that will stipulate that. They also gave them, they used to give them 5% of the allocation from the for the local governments for their sustenance too. These are things, if you for their sustenance too. These are things, if you go into politics, you need money. If you don't go into politics, you need money. These are things they have been able to do for them. But let us wait what roles will be assigned to them by the National Assembly efforts now. You're about to recall too, they need to third member of the state houses of assembly to also support them. But we are waiting to see how it will play out.
How do you think? Yes. How do you think this will impact the decentralization of power in Nigeria? And what do you think?
Decentralization is in the what? Is in the schedules of the Constitution, particularly the second schedule that speaks about exclusive legislative list and concurrent legislative list and what they call residual list. Yeah. But these is what, when you are talking of devolution of power, that is what must change before you get that devolution of power. But when you are talking about rule for traditional rulers, it's just you are making them to be political. You understand? Yes. So being political is that they also play politics with whatever rule they give them. And they are already without any rule stipulated in any law, particularly the constitution, they are already political. They are playing politics too. Because you cannot emerge without not being a member or without not being attached to the ruling political party in your state. You must find way of aligning with such for. If you don't, you will be you'll be sidelined. So when you are talking of rules, they are just about what they already are is what you want to formalize by way of what? By way of law or amending the constitution.
Now, what do you think these traditional rulers can do in community development, and how can they contribute effectively to addressing the local challenges and promoting economic growth?
So what they do is majorly the insecurity is a local issue. Insecurity is a what? It's a local issue. Why is it a local issue? It's a local issue that because they see you, they know those who are perpetrating the havoc, and on the basis of that, they need to what? They need to talk to them. So identify them, talk to them, that there's need for the country, the community to be at peace. So other than that now, is that when you talk of development,
yes,
they control the land. And the government is in charge, the state government is in charge of the land. But they need to talk to them. Some of them are selling lands as huge as 5,000 acres of land to foreigners. So they need to call them. They have not assumed any constitutional rule or power before they are doing that. So the law must also call them and restrict them to certain number of acres of the land of the town that they must sell. And they are the ones giving us problems because they want to live large, they want to live big, they want to ride big cars and put on heavily debt apparel. So they want to be identified. Those are the issues. Leadership goes beyond flamboyance. They are flamboyant in their outlook and in their behavior. So I'm constrained to say that it's not true constitution that you give them rule. They always assume rules, like the governors and the president. They have always assumed beyond what the constitution stipulates. They assume those powers. We assume those powers.
Mr. Larry Agoro is a public affairs analyst and social commentator. I want to say thank you very much for your brilliant analysis and opinions on the program today, and we hope to have you again soon on the show.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
It's a pleasure being here.
Joining us on Burning Issues today, we hope our discussion has shed light on the critical issues facing Nigeria and inspired you to take action. Remember, the power to create change lies within each and every one of us, and together we can create a brighter future for our nation. Until next time,